Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Tyler from the Keep Pounding podcast. And today I wanted to go over just a preview of the depth chart, in my opinion, as far as post draft. Where do things stand right now? Obviously, things can change once we get into training camp, OTAs, mini camp, all that, all the off-season workouts. So, um, I just want to give my opinion on that and then go over some news as well. Okay, so we agreed to terms with Renfro. So with Hunter Renfro, Hunter, he hasn't played for uh he didn't play last season. So according to him, he was out with ulcerative colitis. So inflammation of the colon, it causes a lot of pain in the intestines. It really messes you up. It can cause severe weight loss, really bad fatigue, fevers. And he even said he had 7 straight days, a whole week, where he could not bring his fever down below 103. He dropped to 150 pounds. He was playing at 185. And Dan Morgan mentioned how he was on the Pat McAfee shoot today, and he mentioned how Dan Morgan's agent reached out to him and said, "Hey, he wants to play with the Panthers." I think he's from North Carolina or the Carolinas, but he reached out to him and was like, "Yeah, let's give him a shot because if we are able to get Renfro at the 2021-2022 um, type of play, it's a win for us and a win for him." But he is our younger Adam Thielen. That would be his potential. So we'll go into receivers and all the different position groups, but he definitely adds competition to that group there. He's only 30. Well, he's 30. He's a little older. He's 5'10", 185 pounds. He was selected by the Raiders in the 5th round in 2019. In 2021, that's when he had his breakout year. He had 103 receptions for over 1,000 yards, 9 TDs, and a Pro Bowl. And then he signed an extension that following year, a 2-year, $32 million extension. And then in that 2022 season, he had a concussion or oblique injury, and he only played 10 games. And he missed around 6 games. But even with the 10 games played, he only had 36 receptions for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a huge drop off from the year prior. And then in 2023, you kind of saw he was healthy that year, but you saw his role reduced. He played again full season, but he only had 25 receptions for 255 yards, no touchdowns. And an interesting stat was he was targeted 0 times in the last 4 games, and he played those games as well. They drafted a rookie, Trey Tucker, that took over his slot role, and they eventually released him. The Las Vegas Raiders did in March of 2024. And so at the time, I was really surprised that he didn't find another team, not knowing that he had a medical issue. I just thought it was like he's older, injury prone, a lot of good receivers come out of the draft. And so just thought he kind of fell off and maybe he wanted to retire. So this was uh, hopefully this is a cool story. Hopefully it pans out for him. But I'm looking forward to see how he does during training camp. Then we made a signing, MJ Devonshire. So MJ, he was a 7th round pick last year in the draft by the Las Vegas Raiders. He was a second team All ACC pick as a returner his junior year, and second team All ACC at corner his senior year. His senior year, he had 4 interceptions, returning one for a touchdown. Last year, he was primarily only on the practice squad. He didn't play any regular season games. He's 24. He is a ball hawk. He had 8 interceptions in college. He's quick. He runs a 4.4, and he's played outside corner and slot. And I was kind of well, I'll kind of go over like what I'm some of the concerns with him was he's a smaller frame. He's only 5'11", 186 pounds. He is an inconsistent tackler at times, so he has a history of missing open field tackles. But when I saw this signing, it didn't move the needle for me. I mean, yes, we need bodies at corner. We're very thin there. This to me is nothing but a death piece. MJ, no disrespect to him, but this is again just a death piece. We needed it. I don't think he threatens Mike Jackson's job at CB2 at all. But I actually would love for us to go out and sign someone else. Um, Again, like I did want us to be able to find someone in the draft, but there was just I think obviously with the value where they were selecting. I mean, we had a lot of needs, but corner was just something we weren't able to target. And I always believe in drafting best player available, and they uh, were true to their board and didn't have any corners um, uh, high enough on the board for them to pick when they did pick. So I do want us to be able to tackle corner a little bit more. And I would love for us to be able to reach out to this guy, Russell Douglas. So Rasul, he was drafted by the Eagles. He has played with us before. He's played with the Las Vegas Raiders, the Houston Texans, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Green Bay Packers. So he's bounced around the league a lot, and he eventually signed with the Buffalo Bills last season. He's 6'2", 208 pounds, so he's got the size and the length that you want in a corner. Last season he had 55 tackles, 40 were solo. He had five pass breakups and one forced fumble. He played 13 games. He missed week 15 due to a knee injury. So a little bit injury last season, but overall pretty healthy. He had, again, good length. He's really good in zone. Everyone loves playing a lot of zone, and he also can play press coverage too. I think the Dolphins are interested in him as well, besides the Panthers. But this is somebody that I think would challenge Mike Jackson's spot. Again, I think if I had a bet right now that Mike Jackson, even if we sign Russell Douglas, he's still CB2 unless Russell can beat him out in camp. So this is something that I think at the very least gives us really good depth, because right now after the draft, we're very top heavy in the secondary in both safety and corner. So again, I mentioned before the draft that Dan isn't going to be able to fill every single position. There's a lot of, again, 2 years ago, we're the worst team in the league and we were very thin in all positions. So Dan has done a really good freaking job the last couple of years building this team. And I still think we're another offseason away to really, really competing for NFC like championship, especially if Bryce can continue to step up and we continue to develop and add pieces to this team. We're trending in the right direction. This year, I think we're competing for NFC South, but I don't think we're there yet as far as being a legit NFC championship contender, but we're trending in the right direction. So this is someone that I hope that the Panthers can go after. Some things we've been hearing after we drafted the two edge rushers in the second and third round with Nick and Princely. There's a lot of rumors floating around in the Twitterverse about coming out about possibly Jadeveon Clowney being traded, and I think it's mainly due to the cap hit. I think if his cap hit is 13.775 million this upcoming season, and if we cut him, we'll save just under 8 million. So 7.775 million we'll save, but we'll have a $6 million dead cap. The only pro that I can really think about with this is obviously you're saving money, right? And you can use that money for a safety and or a corner. But to me, with us having just drafting two young edge rushers, I want Jadeveon Clowney to be that veteran presence to help mentor and help develop those edge rushers. I think that would really, really help Nick and Princely. And I want he wasn't bad last year. We obviously had a really bad defensive line in a front seven. He had 5.5 sacks with that horrible front seven, so no one really to help him, possibly make plays and disrupt the backfield and get sacks. But Jadeveon Clowney isn't a bum. I mean, yes, it's a big cap hit, but I just love that rotation. We'll go into it in a little bit here in a little bit, but I just don't. I think it's a real possibility that he'll get traded. But for me, do not want him to be traded. I just don't think. I think the money is worth investing in. Not one, just keeping him on the team, but two, having edge rushers, these two young edge rushers, having a veteran presence like Jadeveon Clowney, like DJ Wanham, like Patrick Johnson or Patrick Jones. And so I just really like that group, and I hope we keep that group so we have constant fresh legs. So this is something that we possibly could see soon, but I just hope we don't. Hopefully we keep him on the team. Okay, so Julian Blackmon. So Julian Blackmon was a safety for the Colts last season, and this is someone I would like us to target. Julian Blackmon, he played 16 games last season. He had 86 combined tackles, 3 interceptions, 4 passes defended, 1 fumble recovery, and a half a sack. PFF ranked him 48th out of like 130 30 something safeties in the NFL. So he's, mid, and I'll take mid because right now at safety you have Trayvon Moore. Obviously, he's going to be strong safety, but who's going to be that free safety? Yes, we have what was it? Landon. What was the other guy's name? Lathan Ransom. Lathan Ransom. He was our rookie that we picked in the 5th round, and he is versatile. He can play both strong safety and free safety. And to me, they have the same skill set, both Trayvon Moehrig and Ransom. And to me, if you add Julian Blackmon, to me, he goes ahead of Ransom unless, Ransom's able to beat him out in training camp. But this is, again, get a good veteran presence. You're getting someone that you're trying to mold. Lathan Ransom, you're trying to mold him into a good NFL-ready safety. Not that he won't be NFL-ready if we don't pick this guy up and he plays, but I just like competition, and I feel like Dan has really done a good job really emphasizing and adding competition at pretty much every position group, specifically the position groups that we really struggled last year at edge and receiver. And again, we'll get into that in a little bit, but I think this is something that will add to the competition, specifically secondary. I feel like that's the biggest needs right now. Julian primarily played free safety. He had a shoulder injury early last season in week 1 that he hurt back in 2023, but he re-aggravated at week 1. And due to the shoulder injury, he went from strong safety to free safety. But Julian, just a couple years ago, had a really, really good season. He had a breakout season. He had 88 tackles with 4 picks, 8 passes defended, 2 fumble recoveries. You did see last season his productivity decrease, but again, I think it was because of the position change. But I like him because he's versatile. He can play both strong safety and free safety. So we'll see, if we make a move at him. With us going after who was it that we? Yeah, okay, never mind. I was thinking of the corner for a second. We just signed wait. So to me, like we need to add depth in this position as well. I know you have Damani Richardson, but I wouldn't mind if we can get Russell Douglas and Julian Blackmon. I'm feeling really good. Not that those positions were good moving forward in the future, but I think that's the best you can do this season. But I would have to see the contract to make sure it's worth it. And I think we have the cap room that we can finagle a little bit. We can definitely make it happen, but let's see if Dan wants to make it happen. Okay. So I want to talk about our draft class a little bit. My last show, I talked about in depth each player here, but I just want to briefly go over them. We had PFF that gave us an A+. The first time we got an A+ by PFF, which I thought was pretty cool. But I think, again, just to reiterate real quickly, our draft class, I really think Dan hit value and need. He did a really good job with the draft. I really don't think he could have done any better. He gives Bryce a weapon with Tet, a large target that has really reliable hands, good speed. Even Travis Hunter said during his podcast that Tet was the hardest receiver he had to guard in college football. So I thought it was pretty cool. We got Nick Scorton in the second round, a big body that is able to stop the run and get to the quarterback. I just think he's going to lose, try to go down to 260. So we'll see what he weighs during the start of camp. But I'm excited about him. Dan Morgan did say that they had a first round grade on him whenever he did the Pat McAfee show. He talked about how the reason why he moved up in the second round was because Nick Scorn, they had a late first grade on him, and they saw a couple of their guys on the edge on their board that were edges that were falling off, and then that's what caused them to move up. So I wonder who the other edges were. I believe one of them was Donovan Ekaraku, but this defensive line class was phenomenal. It was a really deep class. So I'm really excited about Nick. And also Princely. Princely, I really thought he would be a second round edge player. He is more of a pass rusher with great bend, great speed, decent strength. Needs to grow in his frame a little bit to help with the run defense. But two young edge rushers, developing together, I think will be really cool and really awesome. And that's again why I want Jadeveon Clowney to stay. The fourth round pick, Trevor Etienne. This one I wasn't mad about. I understood it, and I do agree with it to an extent. I was hoping like a corner here or a safety. I really wanted a corner here, but I understand the reasoning because you have, obviously Chuba Hubbard, solid one, but he got injured last year. You have Rico Dowdle that you signed for a 1-year rental, who's a really good player, which hopefully if he develops, maybe we re-sign him again. But then you have Jonathan Brooks, obviously, I think injured for the 2025 season. So if Jonathan Brooks didn't get injured and he was available and he was playing this year, this wouldn't have been your pick. This is strictly adding depth to running back because we saw last year how when we were, with the injuries at running back, you didn't see us run the ball as much. And I think teams knew that. So I think they are going to want to run the ball a little bit more heavier this year, and they want to reinsure that they're able to do that by this pick. So I'm not mad at this pick at all. He adds a little bit of return value as well. I don't think he'll be a returner. I think you'll see Jimmy Horn win that job. We'll see. But he does have that capability. Then you had in the later fourth round, Lathan Ransom, we talked about earlier. To me, he's the same player as Trayvon Moehrig. They both like being in the box. They're great at run defense. Not that they're horrible in coverage, but they're known for run stopping big hits, being in the box. So I'm interested to see how the safeties play. Obviously, I can't imagine them being any worse than or the same as our safeties from last year, which is obviously could be a plus. But I'm curious to see how the coverage at safety works out. I'm not worried about the run defense. I'm not worried about them. They're going to use them for blitzing, and I'm more worried about play action, deep pass downfield. Can they be that reliable safety to make sure the receiver doesn't go over the top? So, but I think Ransom also gives you he can play free safety and strong safety, and he gives you value at special teams too. And then in round 5, you had Cam Jackson. Cam Jackson is just a large human being. We're going to go over the depth chart in a little bit, but this guy's a really big run defender, just a large human being that's going to probably force the two offensive linemen to contain him. I think he is going to be a nose tackle in Evero's scheme. I don't think he'll be defensive end. I think he'll be more nose. But I thought this was really good value. You have Mitchell Evans, who most likely will be tight end 3. He, I think, can slowly develop. Maybe he gives you a little bit more than just a blocking tight end. He does have good hands. He's 6'5". I think he was like 250 plus pounds. He's a really good blocking tight end, which is what Ian Thomas was, and we let him go. So I'm excited to see how he does in training camp. And then Jimmy Horn Jr., the speed that we were wanting and that we needed on this team, which will go into the receiver depth chart in a little bit here, but this is a guy that's going to give you the speed that you haven't had at receiver and or punt returner, kick returner skills. as well. So I thought all these picks are good picks. I didn't think there's really any reaches. The one that I wish, I wish we got a corner in round 4 with the Trevor Etienne pick, just for the value purpose, not for the player. But I understood why. I understood why they picked him. So I thought it was cool. A plus from PFF. Dan Morgan is doing his thing. He really is. And then I thought this was pretty cool. So JC Horn retweeted a tweet from Keep Purring Podcast from Ben that I thought was really cool. It was a really cool image. But I thought it was cool that they shout out Ben and gave him credit. But I am excited for T-Mac to go up against and learn how to avoid getting pressed at the line against one of the league's most dominant corners. This is what's iron sharpens iron here. This is what I'm excited about. I'm excited about seeing this matchup in camp and what was it? I forget what team we're doing practice with. I can't remember, but I am excited that JC Horn and T-Mac. I think this is going to be great for T-Mac's development this this training camp. So, but again, looking forward to OTAs and training camp, hearing about Horn versus T-Mac. This is going to be a lot of fun to listen to. But I thought it was a pretty cool thing I saw on Twitter today. So let's dive into this. So let's talk about receivers. So how many receivers are we going to keep? I think we're going to keep 6. I don't think we keep 7. I think it'll be hard to keep 7, especially if we keep Mitchell Evans at tight end. If you don't keep Mitchell Evans at tight end, and you think he goes through waivers and goes on the practice squad, then maybe you keep 7 receivers. But I think that also depends on how much competition and how much productivity comes out of these out of training camp and OTAs. I think, in my opinion, these are the locks for me. You're going to have T-Mac, XL, Thielen, and Coker. So that leaves most likely only 2 other spots that these players are going to have to fight for. So you're going to have David Moore, which is a huge Dave Canales fan. He knows the system. And I think even if he doesn't make the team, they're going to keep him on the practice squad to help develop the young players. But you're going to have David Moore that's going to contribute to it. To me, Jimmy Horn, if I had to guess based on just some of his film, but it's more so his skill set and his value at punt returner and kick returner. To me, Jimmy Horn, you can give a 5, and I think that's probable. But again, I want to see, this is just, again, post draft, before any type of offensive workouts. This, that's just my opinion. I think Jimmy Horn could be 5, but he's not. I wouldn't say he's a lock. And so now that leaves, could it be David Moore? Could it be Hunter Renfrow? Dan Chisnia? Nah, not happening. Bryson Tremaine? No, not happening. Moose Muhammad, we'll talk in a little bit. No, not happening. Not in my opinion. Max Milleen? No. Kobe Hudson? Maybe. GJ Luther? Maybe, probably not. Hunter Renfrow? Possible. If he can get to that 2021 frame or close to it. So, but if I had to pick right now, who are the 6? If we keep 6, would be, again, T-Mac, XL, Thielen, Coker, Jimmy Horn, and then most likely Renfrow. Maybe David Moore, but David Moore, I'm hoping David Moore did okay last year. He contributed a little bit, but I'm hoping someone beats him out on I hope he gets beat out. But I also hope that if we do not keep him, that he goes through waivers and we are able to keep him on the practice squad, because I do think he is a good receiver, and I think he's a good mentor to these young receivers as well as Thielen. So That's what I think. The offensive line is pretty set. The only, obviously you have Ikia left tackle. Brady Christensen's the backup there. Damian Lewis is always obviously a left guard. I think if Damian Lewis goes down, you wouldn't see Jarrett Kingston in there, in my opinion. I think you'll see Brady Christensen. So I know they have Jarrett Kingston there, but I think if Damian was down, you're going to see Brady there. I think Brady's better than Kingston. Now, this is where it gets interesting for me at the offensive line. You have Austin Corbett. So they have Austin Corbett at center, but Cade Mays did a hell of a job last year when Austin was down. And he got better and better throughout the season, and he did well against top competition, like Dexter Lawrence against the Giants. So to me, this is going to be the most fun to watch outside of the receivers because I can see this go either way. But at the at worst, you have a super solid backup at center. So hopefully Corbs can stay healthy. But this is going to be interesting to see who beats out who. Based on what I saw last year, I think Cade Mays has a slight upper hand of this. I'm surprised they have Austin Corbett there at center over Cade Mays. I understand why they do, but based on watching them play and how Cade Mays played last season and he started and finished the season, or sorry, not started the season, but the way he started and how he finished the season, I think you have to. To me, he's 1A right now until Corbett can beat him out, if he beats him out. Then obviously you have Robert Hunt at right guard. And Zavala actually surprised me last year. Zavala, when Hunt was down, because I think Hunt was only down for one game last season, it was late in the season, if not the last game of the season. And Zavala did good. And if you remember the year before that, Bryce's rookie year, he was trash. The whole offensive line was trash, but he wasn't that good. So I like what I saw out of Zavala. I think it obviously helps whenever you have a good solid offensive line as a core. It makes you a better player. But Zavala impressed me, and I'm good with him, as a depth at right guard there. He proved himself last season that he can be a good depth piece. And just real quick here, if you're watching this and you're kind of curious, like, what are these colors? So the orange are the free agency signings that we've had this year. The purple, or like the light purple, is a draft, or the rookies we just drafted. The aqua blue is the unrestricted free agents that we signed, and then the red is injured. Or sorry, the aqua blue, not the aqua blue, sorry, aqua green. The blue is who was already under contract. Sorry, the orange free agent signings, which is you see Renfro, Bryson, Colin Granger, James Mitchell, Rico Dottle. Those are the free agency signings. The purple is our rookies that we drafted. The aqua green, aqua is the unrestricted free agents, and red is injured. And so the red, you see Brooks is the only one that's injured. Okay. And then also, let's talk about tight ends. So I disagree with the depth here right now. So I think Jatavion Sanders, just based on how he played, and I know like towards the end of the season, or like halfway at the end of the season, you saw Tommy and Jatavion kind of share reps, but how Jatavion Sanders played and how young he is, you still want to develop him, and Tommy's still young and developing as well. I just think Jatavion wins that job, but I am curious to see how he responds because he wasn't the same after his neck injury. So we'll see if he can get to that level how he was the first half of last season. But again, I like Tommy. I think he's very capable. And then Mitchell Evans, I think will be the tight end 3. The Colin Granger one, that's the one I'm interested to see how he does in camp, but he's not going to make the team. But I think he'll stay a practice squad. But I'm curious to see, like, they're trying to, I'm sure, develop this guy to be in a red zone off tight end blocking red zone tight end blocking tight end, at best. So I do think Jatavion takes TE1, Tommy Tremble takes tight end 2, and Mitchell Evans takes tight end 3 if they take 3 tight ends, which we'll see if they do or not. I'm not sure. That one I'm not sure. I think if they do take Mitchell Evans, I think there's no way you keep 7 receivers. But I think if Mitchell Evans, if they take only 2 tight ends on the 53-man roster, I think there's a possibility that a receiver could be 7, but I still think that's kind of reaching it. To me, you only do 7 if like these receivers are just playing really well, and it's hard to pick one. Obviously, Bryce Young's gonna be the starting quarterback. Andy Dalton's going to be QB2, and they're not going to keep QB. The other quarterbacks are not going to keep on the roster, active roster. They're going to be more practice squad bodies, and we'll talk about Ethan Garbers in a second here. Chuba Hubbard, I think this is correct. Obviously, Chuba Hubbard is your RB1, Rico Dowdle RB2, and then Trevor Etienne RB3. But again, this is going to be interesting when at the end of the season, let's just say Chuba, that these running backs do what we expect them to do, and Trevor and Etienne contributes really well. What do we do? Do we re-sign Rico Dowdle? Does Trevor play over Jonathan Brooks? Do we, how does that running back room work? Because again, like, yes, we've had a player, Thomas Davis, have multiple ACL injuries and then become an all-pro linebacker, but it's not often that you see it. So I'm interested to see what we do at the end of the season this year with running back. That's going to be an interesting topic to talk about. Okay. So I thought this was interesting. So the Panthers wide receiver core, compare this from 2023. This is, again, Bryce Young's rookie year to this year. Holy shit. What a difference. DJ Chark, Mingo, Marshall, Chenault. Bro, oh my gosh. Just looking back at this, it's like, okay, no wonder Bryce played so bad against one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive line units that season. But then you had this. Man, huge difference. That's Dan is cooking, man. I'm telling you. I mean, now he's got Thielen, T-Mac, XL, Coker, Jimmy Horn, Renfro. Again, like Jimmy Horn and Hunter Renfro are still to be determined, but this is a lot better than 2023. But I just wanted to share this. I thought this was really interesting. Okay, so let's talk about the defense here. So the defense, I think, is going to there's going to be a lot more of uncertainty because it's just so many different faces, right? So let's start from the top of the list here. So we all know Derek Brown's starting. Check, move on. Bobby Brown, the third, is obviously going to start at nose tackle. To me, Cam Jackson is going to be nose tackle too. I know they're not putting him there yet because he's a rookie, but I see Cam Jackson beating Shy Tuttle. Shy Tuttle at nose is not it. I think you'll see more at defensive end than you will at nose, even though, like, I think he'll be more defensive end, maybe 2, maybe 3, and he has the experience at nose tackle, but I wouldn't be shocked if they cut him, even though he took a pay cut this year. So I think Cam Jackson beats Shy Tuttle out, but we'll see. You obviously going to have Tershawn Wharton, right defensive end, and then A-Shot Robinson backup. I think that's good, solid depth there. I still think you can add a little bit to this, but in the future. But right now, this is a big difference between last year. The edges, I do agree that Jadeveon Clowney will start on left side, and DJ Waddle will be right side. And then what I think will be interesting is where, again, we're looking at left outside linebacker and right outside linebacker. These are the edge rushers. So I do agree with those two starting players there. And then to me, I think the rotation will change throughout the season. So Nick Scorton will be on left side, and then Patrick Jones, the second, will be on the right side. That's our depth piece. Then you have Princely as the number 3 player on the right side of the linebacker. And so again, this is why I want to keep Jadeveon because now you have Jadeveon Clowney, you have DJ Wanham, you have Patrick Jones the second, you have Nick Scorton, and you have Princely. So you have 5 solid, decent edge rushers that's going to contribute for you, and it's going to keep that position group fresh the whole game. I think Princely would be more, I think, in my opinion, right now, more passing downs. You'll see him more often than you'll see like 3rd and 2, 4th and 1 packages. Linebacker, I do agree with the positions there. Josie Jewell, I think eventually you're going to want to get young there, but I do like that they signed Christian Rosebaum in free agency this past season just for depth they got from the Rams because of the injury concerns and how Josie got hurt. He was out, I believe, like 3 or 4 games last season. Trevin Wallace, I obviously agree there. And again, I think linebacker is something you'll see next season us address. Josie Jewell's a solid player. Trevin Wallace is developing, but I think you would like to get a little bit younger in that position and add some depth. Josie Jewell's a good player, just getting a little older and he's injury prone. But I think that's something you're going to see us do at the end of this upcoming season. The secondary that I mentioned earlier, I do think that this is the biggest concern for me on the defense, particularly when we face the Bucs, or like a really pass-friendly, high depth wide receiver group offense. So, we're going to be facing Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Emeka Egbuka now twice a year. And obviously, JC Horn is solid. There's no competition there. You have Mike Jackson at CB2, no competition there, unless you, again, sign Russell Douglas. But even if you do, I still think Mike is the cornerback too, unless Russell can beat him out. And then safety, you have Trayvon Moehrig, solid, strong safety that you signed from Las Vegas. And then you have Damani Richardson at free safety. And according to this, they have Damani Richardson starting at free safety. But remember, Lathan Ransom can play both strong safety and free safety. Damani Richardson did play really well towards the end of the last season whenever he was getting some reps. So I do hope he continues to develop and improve. And I wouldn't be mad at this at all. But it's just a group that I think that we still need to help add depth to. And I think, again, that's something you're going to see at the end of this season, the next offseason, us address corner, safety, linebacker. And then nickel, you have Shaw Smith-Wade, who actually did decent for us last season. And then they also have MJ Devonshire, who we just signed from Las Vegas, be back up there. But I don't think he'll be on the practice squad. We'll see. But I don't think you'll see him on the starting lineup. I think you might see I think even Lathan Ransom played a little bit of slot or nickel in college. I can't remember, but I'm just not a fan of having someone that's been on the practice squad, another team, and being your backup nickel. So we still have pieces that we can still add to this. But again, I didn't expect Dan to help fix everything in an offseason. Remember, we're the worst team in the league 2 years ago. There's a lot of holes to fill, both starters and depth, and I feel like he's done a really good job the last 2 years, but it's hard to fix all those holes in a couple off seasons. It usually takes 3. But if you're able to hit the later rounds, it'll speed that up dramatically. So if we hit these later rounds, we're in a good position. So that is the defense. Let's talk about the special teams. Okay. So pull this up here. So Sam Martin is our kicker that we drafted. Let me put the notes Oh, so he was a free agent. Sorry, Sam Martin was sorry, not the guy that we drafted. I was thinking of a different kicker. I was thinking of Ryan Fitzgerald here. Sam Martin is the the free agent that we signed this past season with Buffalo, and then they have two kickers right now. You have Matthew Wright that we signed from San Francisco, and you have Ryan Fitzgerald that we we picked up as an undrafted free agent. I think Ryan Fitzgerald wins this. Ryan Fitzgerald was extremely accurate during college. I'm actually surprised. I know that I forget which team drafted the kicker. He was like one of the best kickers coming out in a while, but this was a close second. Ryan Fitzgerald was someone that we need, and I think he'll end up taking the job. But we'll see who wins that during camp. Obviously, JJ Jansen, no competition there. Now the punt returner, kick returner. That's where I think you're going to see Jimmy Horn win this. I think Raheem Blackshear is a possibility. Um, we'll see, but I think the only way they really keep Raheem Blackshear is if two things. One, he's say that I think it's going to be injuries. So if there's one of the running backs gets injured, you have Raheem Blackshear as a backup, and he can give you special teams value. Or if Jimmy Horn just gets injured or doesn't perform well in camp. I think this is Jimmy Horn's job to lose because he adds more value to not just the punt return as a punt return specialist and kick return specialist, but also as a receiver because we don't have that skill set on this team right now. So I think special teams, it's going to be very straightforward. But the one to see right now is Jimmy Horn versus Raheem Blackshear. And again, I'm glad that that Dan Morgan is adding competition. Competition makes people better. So, um, I'm excited to see how everyone performs during the off season. But that's what I'm thinking. That's what I think the depth chart is at right now. That's based on what I see and how I feel like everything's going to shape up. That's my predictions for who's starting and who's backing up. But I do want to go over just the offensive unrestricted free agents to kind of, I don't want to fit too much in one show, but I want to go over some of the offensive unrestricted free agents just to let you know who we signed and, are there some potential where they could possibly make the 53-man roster? Because at the end of the day, one, you want to add depth, but also you want to be able to have a good solid practice squad, like because you want to be able to obviously have great starters and you want to have a very good functional backup that you won't really miss a beat if that starter's injured, and you want to be able to have good depth in the practice squad, so if you need to bump someone up you can, but also to help you want to be able to get people that can develop into those roles too. Okay. So Jacoby George, he's a receiver that played for the Miami Hurricanes. He's 5'11", 172 pounds. He runs a 4.44, and this guy kind of got the Jalen Coker contract where he got a $250,000 fully guaranteed contract. To me, this suggests just a little bit of higher expectations. This is someone maybe they value that can add speed, compete with Jimmy Horn, maybe be a punt returner, kick returner. But this is someone that they obviously had good high value on to add competition to this group. So, excuse me. So this, I think, is a good signing just to help push Jimmy Horn and and Raheem Blackshear in the punt return, kick return team. And I think this will also push Jimmy Horn and Jacoby George for that speed at receiver that we need. But back in 2023, he had 57 receptions, 864 yards, and 8 TDs. He earned third team All ACC honors. And then last season, he had 53 receptions for 752 yards and 8 TDs. So pretty consistent production there. He, again, is really quick getting off the line. He has, again, consistent production, reliable hands. He plays through contact. As I mentioned, I really think he'll compete with Jimmy Horn for kick and punt returner. They have the same skill set. And to me, he just has a small frame. So this isn't going to be someone you're going to see on the outside. He's going to be slot speed or punt returner, kick returner. There's not we're not expecting him to develop into our wide receiver 3 or 2, but this is someone that's going to help add speed to the team. This is better than Dan Chisnia, everybody. Okay. Another person that we signed as an unrestricted free agent is Muhsin Muhammad III. So, Moose is a former wide receiver out of Texas A&M. His nickname is actually Moose, so that makes it easy. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. Back in 2023, he had 27 receptions, 418 yards, and 3 TDs. But last year, he only played 10 games. He had 5 receptions for 49 yards and 2 touchdowns. I understand at Texas A&M they had some QB changes, some offensive line issues, but there was a huge drop-off in production, and to me, that's a red flag. The guy is fast. He does have NFL-ready size and frame, but again, with his limited production, he needs help with route running, and there's some reports about his work ethic. So I think this is a cool story with Moose playing, his dad that played for the Panthers. But based on what I'm reading here, I think this guy is going to be, he won't make the 53, but we'll see if they want to develop him as a practice squad player. He's got the size, got some speed, but just that limited production, like that's a huge red flag. So I don't really expect him to compete for a possible starting 53 man to be a part, be competitive with the 53 man roster in the wide receiver position. But I do expect them possibly, if he does well in camp, for him to be a practice squad guy. So we'll see. The other one that we saw on there was Kobe Hudson. So Kobe, he's a former wide receiver for the UCF Knights. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. He played 12 games last season. He had 47 receptions, 770 yards, and he had 16.4 yards per catch and 4 touchdowns. He was 6th in the Big 12 with receiving yards per game. He had just under 70 yards per game, and he was 7th in the Big 12 in yards per reception, which was just over 16. He had 3 100-plus yard games. And when the game against TCU, I don't know if any of you guys are UCF fans, but against the TCU, he had 6 receptions for 145 yards and 3 TDs. And that was their season opener, and they won 35-34. So he had a huge game that game. This guy has really good balance for his size and speed. He's a polished route runner. He's a good separator. He's not like the quickest person in the world. Like, he has some speed, but he doesn't have that top end speed. He runs a 4.57, and during last season there was some concentration drop issues that they saw on some basic simple catches that were uncontested. So I think this is someone that you can possibly see compete for possible I don't suspect him to make the 53, but I do hope that he adds a lot of competition. I think this is someone that I would have above Moose the third. So that's Kobe. Then we signed Ethan Garbers. So Ethan was the former QB for UCLA. He's 6'2", 210 pounds. He played 11 games last season. He had over 2,700 yards passing. He had a 64.7% completion percentage, 16 TDs, 11 interceptions. He ranked 4th in the Big Ten for completions per game, which was 21. He ranked 5th in the Big Ten for passing yards per game, 247. And he ranked 4th for total offense per game in the Big Ten, 260. So not terrible, stats there. He has a above average arm strength. He's accurate when he's given time. He's athletic enough to escape pressure and get a couple yards on a scramble. The weaknesses for them, though, is he can force throws. He does struggle under pressure. If you watched him play against some stronger Big Ten teams like Oregon, against that defense, he struggled. So this is someone that, again, he's not going to compete for the QB2 position, but I think he's competing for the QB3, which is Jack Plummer. So I think Jack Plummer and Ethan Garbers are going to be competing for that practice squad quarterback position. Okay. And then one of my favorite undrafted free agents was Ryan Fitzgerald. So goodbye, Eddie Pinheiro. Goodbye. Ryan Fitzgerald, he was a kicker for Florida State. So last year he was extremely accurate kicker, and I would be shocked if he doesn't beat out what was his name? Matthew Wright from San Francisco. To me, I think this is a guy that's going to win the job. But last year, just extremely accurate kicker. 15 for 15 on extra points, 13 for 13 on field goal attempts. He was 5 for 5 on 50-plus yard kicks, and he had a career long of 59-yarder. And then in 2023, he was 19 out of 21 for field goals with over 90% field goal percentage. And at the combine, he was 14 for 15 on field goals. He was 2 for 2 at 50 yards, 2 for 2 at 55 yards, and 1 for 1 at 60. This guy is accurate, and man, I'm just glad to have someone that's better than Eddie Pinheiro. Like, I was rooting for Eddie at the beginning of the season, but with the holdout, and then he just became like one of the most accurate kickers, and all of a sudden he just dropped on a cliff. I understand there was injuries or whatever, but this dude, it was clear that he was so bad that Canales was going for like 4th and 4, 4th and 5 when he normally wouldn't, and he would kick the 53-yard field goal. But he knew that Eddie couldn't make it, and he still had to go for it or punt it, because he knew that Eddie wouldn't get it. So that made last year a little bit harder too. So this is someone that I'm really excited about, that we were able to get. Really excited. All right, Steven Lasoya III. So Steven is an offensive lineman out of Vanderbilt. He's 6'4", 309 pounds. Last year, he played 13 games. He had a total of 762 snaps. He only allowed 2 sacks, 2 QB hits, 9 hurries, and 13 total pressures. He's a versatile player. He has played center and guard. He's durable, no injuries. He's really solid at pass protection. Run defense is solid as well. Good at as the guard lead in run packages. He's not very athletic. Back in 2023, run blocking was poor, but he did improve last year. But he still needs more refinement at run blocking. And there's limited upside here. But this is your Brady Christensen hopeful replacement. This is someone that I could see possibly, again, because he's versatile. He's a good pass protector. He's okay in run defense. And again, he's versatile, no injuries. This is someone that I can see possibly, being a depth piece at the offensive line position. And if you remember the offensive depth chart there, you had Steven. What was he at here? Lasoya was he had him behind Ja'Tyre Carter, so they have him 4th in line. So, and I wonder how many offensive linemen they're to keep. Let's see. I would assume like 12 total. Tackle, guard, center. I would assume 12 or 13 or something like that. But I think there's a possibility that Steven could make the 53. And I think with him being versatile, I think that really adds high probability that he can be. And then the last player I want to talk about is Luke Kandra. So Luke is an offensive guard out of Cincinnati. He started all games last year. He allowed no sacks last year. He only allowed 8 pressures. PFF gave him a 76.7 overall grade. He had a really good pass pro grade at 84.1, and run blocking was 74.3, and then zone blocking was 76.5. But he struggled as a gap blocker. But he only allowed 1 penalty all season last year. He has a really good arm length. Again, no injury concerns. He can improve on run blocking. But again, this is someone that I think Luke and also Steven Losoya that we talked about just previously before this, those guys are going to really compete for depth there. I think one of them is going to make the team, but I think Steven, with his versatility, I think has the upper hand. But they do have Luke behind Chandler Savala. So the thanks. And again, the depth chart I found courtesy of ourlads.com, by the way. But they have Luke Kandra as a number 3 right guard, and they have Steven Losoya as a number 4 left guard. But again, remember he can play center too. Or sorry, center too. So let's see. But again, I think this guy, I think those are good, solid offensive line, unrestricted or undrafted free agents. Again, you're adding really good competition, and you're adding really good competition for depth too. So I love what Dan Morgan is doing. It's going to be a lot of fun to see, what comes out of rookie mini camp, OTAs, training camp. I'm looking forward to the off-season programs. It just sucks again that they're not allowing any of the public to go out there and watch the practices. It's just unfortunate because there's a lot of podcasters out there that have really good content, and they give out a lot of good information, in-depth information, honestly, more so than beat writers, to be honest with you. No offense to any of the beat writers, but, Dunk from Unnecessary Bluntness, PMP, those guys do a good job really giving you really good, specific, in-depth insight on those practices. So it's just unfortunate that we're not going to get that, but I am looking forward to, I love listening to Joe Person, Mike K, anyone from the Athletic, really, Sheena Quick, Fast Tie. So hopefully that we get some really good insight as far as how these guys are competing each day and who's winning, who's losing, what battle's getting hot, who's pulling away. So I'm looking forward to this off season. I am going to make my next video is going to be more about the defensive side of the undrafted free agents and what other news that comes out regarding the Panthers. This is going to be a long off season, so I'm not going to rush anything. But if you do like the video, drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment, and leave some suggestions that you want to maybe hear me talk about next time. So that's it for me today. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.